Hello everyone, TimeToGrind here, and 2 days ago Blizzard gave us our precious beta back, and along with it came a ton of new content and features and just a bunch of amazing stuff. Now normally, whenever a new important patch comes out, I'll be making 2 videos. One very condensed version of it, and then probably a day or 2 later, I'll be making a full-on analysis video with my thoughts on everything, theory crafting, analysis, all that good stuff. So for the people that want to watch just a very short bare bones video, there'll be that for you, and for the people that want to think of my opinions and kind of see what I'm thinking and theory crafting, all that stuff, that'll be the video for you, the longer analysis one. But because there is so much content in this most recent patch, even if I tried to make a very condensed version, it would very unlikely be under 6 minutes. So we're, right, for this patch, pretty much only going to be doing a huge analysis one. Also, something very different is I am doing this without, normally when I make my videos, I use a script that kind of guides me. It's not word for word, but it's a script. But for these analysis videos, I kind of just want it to be me, not having to write a script. So if you have any feedback on it, anything I can improve, tell me in the comments down below. If you don't even like this, if you want me to go just back to writing scripts, all that stuff for these analysis videos, make sure to tell me in the comments down below. I love all your guys' feedback, all that good stuff. But let's jump right into it. So the first thing that everyone has been looking forward to forever since they announced it was the new game mode. And the new game mode actually is called Control. And what it is it is a King of the Hill. And if you actually watched my previous video, top 5 game modes that could work in Overwatch, that was actually my #1. So I'm really hyped to see King of the Hill. It's an amazing game mode. It works perfectly in Overwatch. And yeah. So how it works in Overwatch is both teams, you spawn on the map, and there's a single point that you have to capture. And while you have it, your points go up to 100. First team to get to 100 points gets round 1. And first team to win 2 wins the game. So how it works is if you've ever played TF2, some of the game modes, whenever that a team wins, it goes on to the next round, and it's technically the same map, but it's a different sectioned off portion of the map, and that's what these 2 maps are that come with the Control game mode. So you'll capture the point, all that stuff. So say blue team won first, then you would go to an entirely new section of the map, which for all purposes, it pretty much is a new map, just looking the same, but it's technically the same map, just with sectioned off portions. Now, I love this. I think it's a really cool game mode. I haven't had too much time to try it out because my computer decided to stop working 2 days before beta, but I did use, kind of a backup and tried it out for a little bit, and it's very fun. The one problem with it, though, so far is kind of actually bringing me already into Torbjorn and Bastion. The reason why Torbjorn and Bastion had to be changed in this patch was because people felt like at lower skill levels, they felt like both of the heroes were overpowered. There was nothing you could do to counter them. And at higher competitive levels, no one wanted to play them because they were too counterable. And the one thing I've been seeing people talk about a lot, like on Reddit and other discussion threads, is that in the Control game mode, it seems like people with at lower skill caps, not even like just you're bad at the game, just maybe newer to the game, they feel like Bastion and Torbjorn are way too good in Control because, it promotes a Torbjorn and Bastion, kind of sitting on a point and trying to capture it and holding it off from your opponents. But I feel like once we see more of this game mode played, we'll kind of see that opinion possibly go away a little bit, because I definitely didn't feel that was the case, but I know that there are a few people that, kind of saying that. But other than that, it is a great game mode, and the 2 maps, Lijiang Tower and Nepal, they're both amazing maps, all that good stuff. There's nothing really to talk too much about them. One is kind of a Chinese skyscraper, and the other is like in the Himalaya mountains. And so there's like 3 or 4 like huge main things in the patch. So that was one of them. But another part is play versus AI. It's like this new type of way to play. It's not a new game mode or anything technically. And what it is whenever you select play game, there'll be quick play, the tutorial, and player versus AI. And what that means is if you've ever played kind of a MOBA like Smite, or I think League of Legends has it, I know Heroes of the Storm has it, there'll be options, especially they'll want you to play them when you're a lower level, where it matches you with 5 other real humans, and you all face up against AI bots. So if you don't think you're ready to go head on to, face other real people, there's player versus AI. And I think it helps a lot, especially because with the new player progression, you can still earn, your experience in player versus AI. So it's not like someone's going to be like, well, I don't think I'm ready for the real game, but I can't get experience or whatever. So, it's good that they're promoting player versus AI by allowing you to actually, gain experience and cosmetics and stuff like that. And speaking of cosmetics and the whole progression system, we have the progression system. And Blizzard has talked a lot about how they've tried several player progression systems and all that good stuff. And how sometimes they tried out, say, individual heroes leveling up, and then you got perks and all that stuff, and they didn't want to do that. And so then they said, okay, well, we just tried, every hero, they level up on their own and you unlock cosmetics for them. But the only problem with that is, say you're playing Tracer, and you're only 5 experience away from, getting the new skin, or 5 headshots, or 10 kills, just something like that, some point or some goal that you need to reach with, say, Tracer to get another skin. When you go into a game, say your team picks 5 assault heroes, or offensive heroes, you're not going to pick a support hero, or a lot of people won't pick a support hero, because they're like, oh no, dude, I only need 10 more headshots with Tracer, I'm just going to play Tracer, and it doesn't really promote the team play and hero switching that they want. So the player progression system that they chose was a profile leveling system. So every time you level up, so you gain experience by doing several things in the game, and every time you level up, you get a thing called a loot box. And loot boxes can be opened for skins, animations, emotes, custom dialogue options, sprays, and a bunch more. And I love it a lot. The one problem I have, though, is in a video I made quite a while ago, kind of theory crafting what cosmetics we would see, the one problem I was kind of scared about is, say in TF2, a lot of the cosmetics got way too silly. And it kind of, in my opinion, it didn't ruin the art style, but it kind of just, every now and then, if you see like someone wearing some of those really, really, really extremely silly hats, it can kind of just break your immersion, I guess. I know it's kind of a funny thing to say, but I don't know. I like silly skins, but I don't like them to be too silly. Like a banana randomly on your head, or a banana suit. Like that's way too silly for the game. And so I'm not seeing anything that's way too silly in the game, but I am seeing some that I was kind of shocked at, like that I was surprised that they were in there. As an example, there's like a Mei skin that literally is just like a firefighter. And then there's like a demon, there's like 2 different demon skins from Mercy that have tails. And I mean, some people may like that, but in my opinion, it's way too different. And the only problem with some of these skins are a lot of the skins look way different than the actual original character. So the 2 problems I see here are a lot of newer players, if they go up against someone with a skin, they might not recognize what character that is, and that might cause some frustration because they saw someone and they're like, oh, that looks like someone else, or who is that? And then like they end up doing some move that they weren't expecting because they didn't know what hero it is. But the way the skins look, I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. The main problem, I think, is, let's take as an example the demon skin from Mercy. For some reason, I know they probably would like never make a character for, that is like a demon, but say they wanted to make a demon hero, or someone that looks like a demon or wears like something like a demon, they really can't, because there's now a Mercy demon skin in there, and it looks way too similar, because you don't want to make a hero that looks like a different hero's costume, because then that's going to just get confusing for players. You're going to be having to pay attention. Wait, is it the new hero or is it the costume? And that's not fun. When you see someone, you want to be able to instantly recognize them. But the skins we have now, I think some of them look absolutely amazing, and I don't think there's too much of a problem. There's just like, 3 or 4 skins, I think, that are almost a little too silly. But that's just my opinion. I know I've heard a lot of people love them. But yeah. So next we have private games, and this is probably another one of the hugest things that got added. So they renamed private games to custom games, and the reason being is you can now customize literally like not hundreds of options, but there's so many options to actually customize. You can customize things like the map rotation, hero selection limit, the role selection limit, whether you even want heroes switching on, respawning as random heroes, just all this really fun stuff, including things like setting modifiers for health, damage, healing, ultimate charge rate. So you can create these really fun game modes, as an example, where it could be a 6v6, everyone's Roadhog with 200% health and 200% increased ultimate charge rate, and just have these amazingly silly things. And it's going to be amazing because I play Dota 2, and there's, the whole custom game things, and me and my friends play those custom games all the time. They're just really fun. They're kind of a fun break from the main game if you're not up for playing the main game. And so it's really cool to see all these custom options that we have just in beta. Imagine, all the more custom game options that we can get down the road. And Jeff Kaplan said that they're actually analyzing what kind of settings are being picked. So as an example, say every single person that creates a custom game is disabling, say, Reaper, because they all think Reaper's overpowered or something like that. They can actually check the statistics of that, and they might actually change Reaper in the main game. So some things that they see happening, a lot in custom games, they're going to actually take a look at and, think about it in the main game. On top of that, they actually added a work-in-progress training mode and a work-in-progress profile system, but they're not completely fleshed out yet, so, we'll have to kind of wait for that. And then we go to the hero balances, and there is a lot of them, especially Bastion and Torbjorn, because those were the two, things everyone was looking forward to, especially since they, said those were the two they were mainly looking at. But first of all, there's just general hero balances. So all healing effects now work on shields, so, that's pretty good. And ammo will now reload in the middle of a weapon's reload animation instead of at the end of it. And the reason being so is mainly because in a lot of other FPSs, you reload like around halfway through the animation, not at the very end. So you learn these habits by playing other FPSs where you kind of reload and then you cancel the animation by switching to a different weapon or something like that. And so in Overwatch, if you have those habits and you're trying to cancel these animations, you're actually canceling the entire reload. And so they moved the actual reload to the middle of the animation so that doesn't happen. Next, Quick Melee now pauses weapon recovery time while active, so just kind of small thing. And enemy team ability colors are now way more clear, which is very good, because as an example, say the enemy team had a Mei and they ulted, and you had a Mei on your team, you wouldn't necessarily know whose ultimate it was, and you'd kind of be like, okay, well, can I walk in there, can I not? So it should be very clear, and muzzle flash has been retuned for several weapons, especially Soldier 76, and it looks a lot nicer not having just flashes, huge, bright white flashes of light in the middle of the screen. And then they did some quality of life changes, like explosions at a distance should be more audible, and some things about it being more obvious whether you're being healed by like an indirect healing source, like, the payload or Lucio, stuff like that. And then they changed ultimate charge, how the ultimate charge system works a little bit. And some of these suggestions I actually had in my ultimate charge video, so I know they probably already were working on it before, but it's kind of nice to see me thinking in the same way. But first of all, players no longer gain ultimate charge from taking damage, and that's huge because if anyone remembers the whole conversations about Junkrat before beta left, was Junkrat wasn't being picked in competitive games, because the one thing you're supposed to do as Junkrat is spam and be like an aerial of denial person. But if you're constantly spamming your grenades down a hallway, you're giving them free ultimate charge because they're just taking these little bits of damage that actually aren't affecting them very much because they can just go up and heal or, whatever. So you're just giving them free ultimate charge. So by no longer gaining ultimate charge from taking damage, that's buffing people like Junkrat, and it also makes it just a lot better because a lot of you don't want to just be soaking bullets to soak bullets because you're like, oh, I want to take damage, because it's kind of promoting bad habits. It's like you shouldn't gain ultimate charge because you're getting hit. So you still, gain ultimate charge by hitting people, just not by taking damage. And on top of that, ultimate charge will now generate slowly over time for all heroes. And because of all these changes with the ultimate charge, they rebalanced like many heroes' ultimates costs. So now we have Bastion. Now, Bastion was one of two main people that, it was Bastion and Torbjorn. And like I said, the problems with both of the heroes were that Bastion and Torbjorn, they seemed overpowered at lower skill tiers, and they seemed terrible at higher skill tiers. So they are trying to solve both problems, with one fix. So Bastion, his base health was increased by 50 armor, and then in his recon configuration, which is, where he can walk around and has an assault rifle, his minimum weapon spread was removed, and his maximum weapon spread was increased by 10%. And his weapon spread will now start to recover more quickly, so kind of some buffs for him while he is in recon mode. Then in sentry mode, once he goes into sentry mode, he gets 300 armor, which is practically doubling his health and armor. And his frontal barrier has been removed though. And he has a core on his back that whenever shot takes triple damage, and he no longer has, or he no longer has the barrier, but he can rotate in 360 degrees. And, there's some other changes pretty much buffing his minigun a little bit, but, nerfing it in some other aspects. And so what this does is, in lower skill brackets, the reason why people thought he was OP was because he had the shield. And a lot of people that are newer to the game, they don't really know how to flank that well. They don't understand, they might not understand all the counters. Like, as an example, Symmetra, her alternate fire, goes through shields. They may not know that. They may not know, the text of the map to get behind, people like that. So having a shield seemed really, really overpowered. And the reason why he was considered bad, one of the reasons he was considered bad at higher tier, was because if you even could flank remotely okay, you could get behind him and kill him, because he didn't have enough time to get out of his tank or his sentry mode and fire at you. Because now that he can rotate in 360 degrees, he can actually have a chance if people are trying to flank him. So I feel like it does very well, solving both problems, but we're definitely going to have to wait and see all the tournaments that are going on and stuff like that before we determine whether it was successful. Then we have Diva. Now, Diva herself wasn't overpowered. It was just if Diva was stacked for the most part. Because there was a tournament, I forgot which teams, but one of the defending teams, right at the end, they were about to lose, and they just stacked Diva, and they completely destroyed. So there's kind of a quality of life update just with her, where when Diva's mech is destroyed by damage, it actually completely disappears. So there's no more times where you're Roadhog and you're trying to hook her, but she dies, but you still take the mech suit. There's no more of that annoyance. But the big nerf was her defense matrix. So the size was decreased by approximately 50%, and the shape changed to be more cylindrical than conical. So it's a lot less effective because it could block out, fair ultimates. It could block out just a ton of stuff. And if you stacked Diva, you pretty much could permanently block all projectiles, and it was insane. So, nice to see that while not affecting her that much if she's played by herself. Then we have some quality of life updates for Hanzo, where Scatter Arrow now has a fixed pattern rather than a random one, and that's kind of nice. So people that want to get really good as Hanzo, they can learn that pattern, and it's less frustrating if it doesn't hit or stuff like that. Then Sonic Arrow, it can now actually stick into people, and the radar will actually move along with them. So that's really cool. And on top of that, it also, hits barriers. And then Dragon Strike is ultimate. He can now turn while using it. So pretty much not really nerfs or buffs too much, depending on how you look at them. Just mainly quality of life changes. And then we have Mercy, probably the third person that I would say needed to be looked at while, the beta was down. And so Mercy, her Guardian Angel, can now target the souls of dead allies, but her Resurrect is the main thing that changed. Her Resurrect ultimate charge cost was decreased by 25%, so you're going to get it a lot faster. And the activation time was decreased from 1.5 seconds to 1 second, so it's, faster to do. But the range of the actual resurrection was decreased from 40 meters to 15 meters. And that's insane. That's ridiculous. But it was well-deserved, I feel, because a team could have like 3 or 4 people all ultimate and team wipe, but Mercy stayed alive, and she pressed a single button, and her entire team's good. So definitely something that was needed. I feel like it's going to do the job. In the games I've played, she hasn't seemed, ridiculously overpowered like she did, but, that's one of the things that we're just going to have to wait and see how well it actually worked out for. And on top of that, it no longer locks your aim during activation, so you can still look around while ulting. Then we have Pharah, and this is this is technically a nerf. She will no longer refuel while sliding on an unwalkable surface, because a lot of people found areas on certain maps that they could kind of stand on the roof of, say, a map, and it'll slide you down, but because you're touching a surface, you're gaining you're gaining the fuel a lot faster, so you can slide down a little bit, and then you'll have enough fuel to just go back up, and then you'll slide down, go back up, and you can stay there while firing, and it's kind of like a little cubby hole. And they said they were considering keeping it, but when they were trying to rebalance the maps, they decided to take it out. And then we have Reinhardt, and pretty much all the changes to Reinhardt were making it where his ultimate is a lot more of a setup rather than a finisher, because Reinhardt's Earthshatter did so much damage that you could use it as a finisher, you could use it really as anything, and they want it to be mainly a setup only. So the damage was decreased by 50%, the width was decreased by 40%, and he can now turn while using Earthshatter, so that's kind of a quality of life update, and it renders him immune to Zarya's Graviton Surge. So, you're wanting to use it more as a setup rather than anything else that you were using it before. Then we have Roadhog, and he got a small buff, and it's where stun duration after being hooked has been slightly increased. And I don't actually know the numbers on it, but that may mean that we can actually kill tracers a lot better, because as you guys know, if you've played Roadhog, if you hook a tracer, they have a few frames to teleport back in time before they were hooked. So that's really good as a Roadhog player, because you can practically insta-kill a lot of heroes anyways with the 1-2 combo punch where you hook them as they're coming in, you fire, and then you melee. So that's going to be very interesting to look at the numbers for. And then we have Soldier 76. So Soldier 76 got treated a lot like McCree did. He now has long-range damage fall-off, and a new reticle, and the spread recovery now begins instantly instead of after a delay, but spread now has a curve, which makes it more accurate at the start, but it quickly becomes less accurate. So I'm expecting a lot of people to actually start kind of burst firing with Soldier 76 because of the recovery being instant, or not instant, but no, it is instant. So you fire for a little bit, you stop, wait a tiny bit, and then continue firing rather than just holding it down. And it kind of just changes the way he feels, and that's definitely a very hard nerf with the long-range damage fall-off added. And then we have Symmetra, and this is pretty much just making Symmetra, I feel, a lot better, not like buffing her, but just a lot more fun character to play against and play as. So 2 main things happened. Symmetra's turrets, they'll no longer gain ultimate charge when dealing damage to barriers, which that happened for a few other people's things. It's kind of buffing people like Zarya. But besides that, her teleporter, the ultimate cost is reduced by 40%. So you're going to be getting the teleporter a lot faster, especially from the beginning, because as playing Symmetra, you're mainly playing her, there's some other things that are really good about her, but a lot of the times you're playing her for her teleporter. So being able to get it out a lot faster is amazing, but she no longer gains ultimate charge while her teleporter is active. So the reason being for that is, say you're up against a Symmetra, and she has a teleporter, you hear it, but you can't find it, and it's just frustrating you really bad, and you finally find the teleporter. You destroy it, and right as you destroy it, you hear they have another teleporter. It's just extremely frustrating and kind of unfair, and also unfun for the person playing Symmetra, because you could be holding on to your ultimate for 6 minutes before, the charges run out or they destroy it, and it's kind of more fun to get your ultimate and be like, oh yeah, I got my ultimate, and place it, rather than, oh yeah, I got my ultimate, let's hold on to it for 5 minutes. And then we have Torbjorn. So Torbjorn, this is huge. This is amazing. It's the other second patch that, was really looking forward to in the buffs and stuff, and nerfs. And so Torbjorn, his maximum scrap was increased from 100 to 200, but the amount of scrap per pickup was decreased from 30 to 20. And, it's easier to actually see the scrap, and the enemy team can't see the scrap. And so they buffed the Rivet Gun and the alternate fire by mainly increasing the damage, but decreasing the fire rate. And on top of that, building turrets or upgrading the turrets no longer costs scrap, and it occurs a lot faster. And so at level 1, it does more damage than it used to, but the health is decreased from, say, 250 to 150, and the same for level 2. The damage was higher than it used to be at level 2, but less health. But you can no longer upgrade your turret to level 3. Instead, Torbjorn's ultimate now makes all of your level 2 sentries become level 3 sentries, and it no longer fills your scrap meter, it no longer makes abilities cost 0 scrap, and it can be activated while moving, but it doesn't make, him, because when people used Molten Core before, it was always to get a level 3 sentry, because it was way too hard to actually collect enough scrap and put a level 3 sentry in a relevant place. So now you're going to be able to actually place it in relevant places, and this makes it amazing. And the level 3 sentry actually got buffed a crap ton. The bullet damage increased, the fire rate increased, it fires 4 rockets rather than 1, all this amazing stuff, the health was increased, and it makes him a lot more important in active duty kind of things. So you're more important in the team fights. And on top of that, there is 2 new really important options. One, always skip kill cam, and a kill feed display. And I personally don't have always skip kill cam because sometimes I want to watch those, but I definitely would suggest turning on the kill feed display because it's really nice, because it pretty much says what the username is of who killed someone, what player they were playing as, and then who they killed, their username and what player or character they were playing as. And it's also nice because it color codes the entire thing according to teams, so you can look up there and be like, oh, 3 of my teammates just died, maybe I shouldn't push. And it just provides a lot of very valuable information. And they kind of updated, you know, the voice chat, the commendation system, a few bug fixes and stuff like that. And that, I mean, that's pretty much it. So, of course, I did skip over, you know, a few of the less important things. So I'll link it to the description down below. I'll link to the patch notes. And so if you want to look at those yourself. And, you know, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any suggestions at all whatsoever, make sure to tell me in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, then consider leaving a like down below and subscribing to see more Overwatch content. See you guys next time.